Hello there guys and welcome back to my channel for the first Champions League Semi Final preview that I've ever done on YouTube. The biggest game in Chelsea's, history of the last 7 years. It's a huge one. It's a very, 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 very big one. And to discuss such a big game, we're joined by an absolutely fantastic panel on the day. Of course, as you can see in the top right-hand corner, Mr. EuroExpert. Who better to get involved for a European Cup semi-final than the EuroExpert? Of course, we're also, as you can see in the bottom left-hand corner, Mr. Ian, Mr. Craigo28 Football, and also by Hajir, Mr. Tammy Abraham himself, of course, part of the Chelsea Social. And Lewis should be joining us in a little bit as well. Not quite sure when that will be, but at some point. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, thank you for coming. And how are we all feeling? Let me start with you, Alex. How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling pretty good. I've been studying Real Madrid very hard. I've watched a few of their games. Well, a few of basically every single one of their last few games, and kept up with them all the season. Had a really interesting story, so I'm pretty excited to tell it. And as always, pretty excited to be back on my favourite Chelsea channel.
Brilliant, appreciate that. Ian, Craigo, what about you? How are you feeling? Are you nervous? The nerves kicking in? Is it positive thoughts? What's the feeling at the moment?
I don't know, because it's a bit of a weird one. I'm really looking at it now going, we need to make sure we get top four. But the reason we get top four is to be in positions like we are at the moment. So it's a double-edged sword at the moment, I think. It's a bit of a tough one. I mean, 90 minutes of football, anyone can beat anyone, but a two-legged tie could be a very different thing. And yeah, I don't know. Maybe if it was in a final, I'd be a little bit more kind of confident, a bit more, we can go and do anyone. But it's going to be a big old ask. And when you have to score away from home, it's going to be a very tough job. It's going to be a very, very tough job.
I think so as well. And of course, Hajir as well. We haven't actually seen you that many times on this channel. So to appreciate you coming on, it's, you chose the right time, I would say. Again, same question. How are you feeling ahead of tomorrow? Nervous? Excited? What's the feelings?
Mate, every single feeling there is, honestly. I'm nervous. I'm excited. There's just it's been such a long time since we've been in a position like this. And last, I think it was 2014. So to be in this position, with the players have as well, a lot of Cobham boys. This is a proper Chelsea. I'm mad excited, yeah. I would do anything to see Mason Mount and Tam and the boys with that cup in their hands. So yeah, I'm excited. Especially, I think the ref is going to be on the side as well. So I'm excited for that as well.
We will discuss that. We will 100% discuss the whole talk about the UEFA trying to get Madrid, out and do as much as they possibly can without being illegal, I suppose, although isn't the whole idea in itself already illegal? We'll discuss all of that. We'll discuss very many things today. An analysis about Real Madrid by Alex, of course, by EuroExpert. We'll discuss how we are probably most likely to beat them, how we'll set up, talk about the Rafa Varane rumours to Chelsea a little bit as well. And we'll discuss what someone put in the chat earlier, I think by Adash, whether we can talk about the UEFA structure, the new Champions League thing, because the last time we really properly discussed it, that was kind of swept under the rug, under the radar a little bit. And a lot of people, like he mentioned here, Tuchel, Pep, and other players, they all spoke out about how kind of ridiculous it is. We'll discuss all of that. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching right now, first of all, I appreciate you. But whether you're watching this right now or whether you're watching this later on when this live stream has turned into a video, be sure to subscribe. We're on the road to 10,000 subscribers. We can get there as soon as bloody possible. The more of you to subscribe. So, get subscribed, hit that like button, turn it from a boring old grey to a lovely blue. Use the super chat function if you fancy that, but of course you don't have to. And to be honest, with all of that said now, sorry about all the admin waffle at the beginning, let's get into the stream. Let's talk about Chelsea against Real Madrid, or rather Real Madrid against Chelsea. Of course, the kind of sad thing, there's two sad things. One, no fans allowed. Two, we're not even playing at the bloody Bernabeu. We're playing at the Alfredo Di Stefano Stadium, which is just a training ground stadium, which holds about 6,000 people, and the whole, atmosphere is not quite the same. But I will say, with an inexperienced team like we have, maybe that's actually an advantage, and the whole they won't feel the pressure and the ambience and the atmosphere of a Bernabeu, whether it's empty or not. And maybe it's a little bit less pressure. I suppose you can look at it that way. With that said, Hajir, do you think it could play any difference, whether it's Bernabeu or whether it's, the training ground stadium, or it doesn't matter? Who cares? We play against Real Madrid, doesn't matter where.
I mean, kind of both, because playing at a full Bernabeu, there's 90,000 people watching the game. It is a special feeling, yeah. But to be fair, we have a lot of young lads that probably would be gassed to play at a stadium like that with 90,000 people watching. I think they will be up for it still. So I think they're still going to be up for it, like either way. Because even tomorrow, I think there are a lot of Coban boys. They know what Chelsea is all about. They want to win the trophy with the Chelsea. Like Mason Mount has been at Chelsea since he was 8, I believe. So like for him to win the Champions League with Chelsea within his second season, that would be mad. So I think they will all be up for it, and they better be up for it. No messing about tomorrow, because like this is if you want to be at Chelsea and keeping then in the number 11, like the number 11 that starts week in and week out, this is the games when you need to perform. Even though you play such a good team, this is the first big proper test, because to beat Real Madrid in the Champions League, it's different. Like they're like the master of the Champions League. I think they have like 30 Champions League. We have 1. That midfield is unbelievable. Like you can't try what's it called? You can't try and dominate the midfield. Just sit back. Don't try anything stupid. Because I love Jorginho. I don't love Jorginho, but I like Jorginho, and he's been good lately, to be fair. But boy, if we were trying to dominate that midfield with Jorginho, from what I believe, then I think we would get clapped. Yes, I think we would get embarrassed. That you don't mess about with that midfield. You don't. Just let them have the ball. Sit back. Counter attack. Especially with Timo as well. Like, you know, to be fair, Timo had a decent game the other day. We won't talk about the 2 chances he's missed, especially the one in the second half. Like his form lasted for like 5 minutes, but there's still something positive about him. Like it lasted for a few minutes. Tammy came on, looked good. I can't believe people actually said that he had to score that chance. I think that's a bit harsh. But he looked good. Giroud is back tomorrow as well. He's in the squad. So we have a lot of options, But I believe that, I don't think Ramos is playing as well, which is a huge loss for them. But to be fair, a big part of that team has been in these situations time and time before. And they have won like 3-4 Champions League. So they have a lot of experience. And the only kind of guy that we have in these circumstances, like that has been in a position like this, that is Kovacic, and he's been playing tomorrow. And to be fair, like when Real Madrid wasn't the semi-final, the guy was wearing jeans and watching from like the stands. So it's not like he was a big part of that team winning those Champions League.
I suppose Thiago Silva was in this position last year, literally.
To be fair, that is true. Aspi has also been in the semi-final, to be fair.
But he lost. Like, so let's try to focus on the Thiago Silva vibes here.
Fair enough. I mean, they still have I don't know, how many players in the squad that won the Champions League? The whole midfield, Benzema. To be fair, if Varane is playing as well tomorrow, so that's like 6 players they have in the team, But to be fair, we just need to play our game. Carvajal isn't playing though, is he?
Marcelo, I don't know if he'll play or not.
Carvajal is fit. He's fit. Just Vasquez is out. Carvajal's there.
Oh, well, that's another. I didn't know that. Well, that's going to be tougher now, you know. To be fair, I mean, we just need to play our game. Like, if the boys turn up, then we have a chance. If they play like they did against West Brom, then I'm cutting ties with every single player. That is how it is. So
it's true. It's absolutely true. And you know, I thought it was a very interesting quote by Thomas Tuchel. And with that, I'll get to you, Ian, because Tuchel in the press conference today was asked, "Do we have to step up again? Is this such a big game that we need to take another step forward?" And Tuchel made a very interesting gave an interesting response to that, which I thought made a lot of sense. And he said, "It's not what if the next level is keeping the same level, because that's kind of what makes you like top class. Because we have beaten the best teams in Europe. We literally beat Man City like a week ago, right? Mm-hmm. Who is said to be the best team in Europe. If we play a similar level, we can beat Real Madrid. The problem and why we're fighting for top 4 and not fighting Man City for the title is because we don't play at this level consistently. And then we drop stinkers every now and again. And too often when we do drop stinkers, we don't get the win. So I thought that was a very interesting shout. Of course, we'll talk in more detail about who Real Madrid are missing. But Ian, with that said, do you agree with that, first of all, that we don't necessarily need another step? If we replicate one of our best performances this season, we can beat them? Or do you think we do need another step? Because I agree with Hajir. Real Madrid is different, but Real Madrid is also different in the semi-final compared to what we drawn against them in the round of 16. I think it's much easier to beat Real Madrid in the round of 16 than it is in a semi-final, if that makes sense, because they just their form always gets better and better and better the closer they get to a European final. But Ian, how do you see that in terms of Madrid? But also, like I said, do you agree that it's not really needed, that we need another extra step in terms of performance?
I think the thing for me is you want to, at some point, you've got to make a step. Do you know what I mean? You've got to make the step at some point. And I think the big thing for me is, although I get the point about making that next step, is you want to make that step and it constantly be at the level. At some point, you look at Liverpool when they won the Champions League. They were the best team in the country. They were the best team in Europe. They made that step. They were there. They were always there. They didn't have to up their game when they played in the Champions League against certain teams. They just played their game. They just played their game and made the most out of it. I think to probably this game tomorrow and probably next week, next week, the next leg as well, we do have to take the step up. I think we probably do. I do think we need to do a little bit more, but it's about finding that right. It's about finding that right level, that right consistency where we can constantly say we are one of the best teams in Europe. We are one of the best teams in Europe. And I was going to make. I was just thinking of this point earlier that I looked at it and I kind of, I was thinking when you asked me about am I confident, am I nervous, blah 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 blah. I don't feel like this is our year to win the Champions League. I don't look at us and think this is the perfect squad. This is the perfect this. We've got a great draw. This is everything set in our favour. But at the same time, I don't think that 2012 was either. And I think that actually 2008 and 2009, we were probably the best team in Europe, and we just got very unlucky done by injuries.
And 2005, you could argue.
Yeah, I think those were the prime times for us to win it, and we didn't. We're looking at this as the prime time for Man City to win it. We're looking for this as a lot of winners in this Real Madrid team. This is probably the prime time for them to win it. This Paris Saint-Germain team's just got talent for days. Last year was probably their prime time to win it, but they don't win it. So it would be really interesting to just see how the mindset comes around. And this whole step it up thing, although, let's get to that level, let's get where we want to be and constantly, known about, amongst the big boys and getting results. But actually, do we really give a shit whether it's our time to win it? And do we really give a shit if we're up there and around the big boys? Because when the opportunity comes, if you take it, no one cares. No one ever remembers. So it's about, I think, what you want to be remembered for. If you want to be remembered as being a really fucking good side, that's great. But if you want to be remembered from being winners, take the opportunity. And I was going to say about the youngsters playing at the Bernabeu and playing at the Di Stefano Stadium, I think they actually probably would have engaged the massive crowd at the Bernabeu of 80,000 or whatever it is. I really think they would have. And even if they didn't, as long as they learn going forward for the future, it's a good experience for them, because these are a lot of them are young lads. We've got them for many, many years to come. I just think if we can come out of this game, of course you want to win it, but as long as you come out of with some sort of knowledge or experience or know-how of how to do it in the future, it's going to be worth the time. It's going to be worth the time. I just don't want us to go and get turned over and make ourselves like absolute dickheads.
I agree, actually. I agree. In terms of learning, it would have been better to play at the Bernabeu, to play at the Bernabeu with fans, especially. But in terms of trying to go through this tie, I think it makes it maybe a tad easier not playing at the Bernabeu. Especially weirdly, I think it's almost easy to play at a Bernabeu with fans than to play in an empty Bernabeu, because I think that makes it, because whether they're Spanish or whether they're 80,000 or 50,000, the players know how to deal with opposition fans. But to have this huge empty stadium around you, if it would everything be as normal and we would just be playing in an empty Bernabeu, I think that could almost be more intimidating than a crowded Bernabeu. I don't know why. But in terms of this year, I think it just a tad less pressure could be a positive. Of course, with all of that said now, let's get to Real Madrid, who are missing a few very important players. Ferland Mendy did manage to come back fit in time. The same goes for Lucas Vazquez and Sergio Ramos, of course, their captain, and all sorts of records that he holds for them, right? And as well, Federico Valverde, of course, the midfielder, has tested positive and is out of the first leg. But who's returned? Eden Hazard has returned, and Toni Kroos, who missed the last game, I think, or one of the last couple of games, is back as well. But Alex, fill us in on Real Madrid. For me, it was weird because if you asked me 3 months ago, I would have said Real Madrid are absolutely in the mud. And to be honest, they were. I mean, they got battered, 3-0 or something, away at Shakhtar Donetsk. Then they lost at home against Shakhtar Donetsk and somehow still managed to top the group at the end of the day, because Inter are just dreadful. I mean, they're winning the league now, but in the Champions League group stages, they were absolutely dreadful. And I mean, there was so much talk about Zidane leaving Real Madrid, being sacked. There was so much crazy shit going on. And now you see them, okay, they dropped some important points on the weekend, but they're in the race for the La Liga. They're in the Champions League Semi Final. How has their season gone from quite bad, or pretty bad at the start, to now possibly another one of their unbelievable seasons?
It's much more about the teams around them dropping off. Real Madrid, to tackle it from that perspective, right? So in the league, it's not as if they've caught up Atletico. It's more like Atletico have slowed down. In the Champions League, it's less that they've stepped it up or anything. It's more that Atalanta didn't really give them a good game at all. And Liverpool completely lost the tactical battle. And that's the thing with Madrid here. Obviously, I've been on this channel to talk in the past about Chelsea v Atletico and Chelsea v Porto. I think against Porto, that was a game where needed the players to step up and not bundle under the occasion. I think against Atletico, that was about keeping the pressure up, keeping them trapped in. This game's different. This is actually about tactics. And I'm not going to go super into it. But with Madrid, Hajir was listening to him. Hajir's touching on one side of a debate which you have against Real Madrid. Toni Kroos is genuinely one of the best midfielders in the world at the moment, not just the last 10 years, at the moment. If you look into all of these stats, he's the top player in the league for passing the ball into the box, into the final third. It's the same in the UCL. No one's better than him at getting the ball up the pitch and getting it into dangerous areas. And you can either try and press him down and mark him, or you can sit off of him. And we saw that Liverpool sat off of him, and he caused damage in that first leg. And with Madrid, from a Chelsea perspective, I would say not to waffle on too much, but I think Chelsea would need to not give a couple of their players really solid time on the ball, which would be Benzema and Kroos, and they need to nullify Vinicius, because they're the three danger men. Now, Real Madrid, obviously, they've got these players that on paper have been through so much and they've won so much. But Zidane at the moment at Real Madrid, tie all the way back to what you were mentioning, Laurenz, the reason he's done so well and the reason he's gained a lot of respect this season, that it's not that where he was accused before in the Champions League of living off like some of the best players in the world. Like he wasn't coaching Sergio Ramos. Ramos was just the best player in the world. He was winning in the Champions League. Whereas this season, he's been coping with the deficiencies of players like Toni Kroos and Modric. Real Madrid, they don't want possession. They're not actually a team that's going to press high tomorrow. They sit back because they're not going to expose a slow midfield. They sit back, soak up pressure, and it's backed up by the stats. If you look in La Liga and the Champions League, Real Madrid are like bottom for pressures and tackles. They're not the team to go out and win the ball off Chelsea. They're to get back in a solid defensive position, pick them off, and then they're going to counter-attack mainly through the left side and Vinicius. So sorry to waffle on a bit there, but that's kind of the thing. It's more about their opponents dropping off and Zidane coping a little better with the deficiencies of his team.
And I think partly that is why their midfield, even though they're all getting on, in particular Modric, are still looking as good as they are. If they played in a system where they would constantly have to pressure the opponent, play like a Liverpool midfield three, like our midfield plays very often, they wouldn't be capable of sustaining that through a season, probably not even through a game, and look anywhere near as good as they did against Liverpool. Because, like you said, Toni Kroos is one of the best midfielders, to be honest, the world has ever seen. Like up there with the Xavis, Iniestas, Pirlos, Fabregas, up there with those very best central midfielders that we've ever seen in football. And to be honest, Modric isn't far off either. You could argue Modric is higher because he actually did win a Ballon d'Or. Would Hazard have won the Ballon d'Or had not the rest of the Belgian team absolutely bottled it against France? Sure. But at the end of the day, still, Modric won the Ballon d'Or in the end, right? So, unbelievable midfield. And we all know what Casemiro is. Absolute dirtbag, but one of the best, if not the best, out-and-out DM that there is in the world. You could argue him.
There's something...
Less of an outright DM, I would say. But go on.
Yeah, well, actually, it leads on perfectly there because a weird thing that's been seen with Madrid, and it's seen against Liverpool, Casemiro is usually the furthest midfielder forward. What we saw against Liverpool, and it's something that's happened at Real Madrid, I'm not going to claim I've seen it myself completely. Michael Cox from the Athletic pointed it out. You see, if Isco and Toni Kroos, in the Real Madrid attack, they're not the ones to get into the box. Casemiro, he rises from DM and goes to the top of like this triangle to get into the box. And that's why he's got like the second most shots per game in the Madrid squad. He's up there. He's much higher than Kroos and Modric. So there's a lot of weird things happening with Madrid that makes them a bit of a difficult team. And that's why I said it's a lot more of a tactical battle this time around.
Which is interesting.
There's a bit of a height advantage there, and a little bit more of a yard of pace. And I was going to actually throw that in. Is one of the ways we can beat them potentially tomorrow isn't by height. We're not going to beat them by height because Courtois is going to come and claim everything in the air. Because let's be honest, he is so much better now than he was when he was at Chelsea, especially at plucking things out of the air. And he was good when he was at Chelsea as well. But there are so many areas that you can get yourself into a really dodgy battle with. And I think actually, what Liverpool tried to do when they played against them the other week was the right way to go about the game. But one thing they didn't have is someone that was going to constantly pressure Toni Kroos, given the opportunity to play the balls over the top, and they will do it. And especially against, unfortunately, Thiago Silva, they're going to constantly want to break on the pace and break the pace and break the pace. But I think we're going to struggle to break them down. And I think that they're going to get into positions tomorrow, although they're not necessarily a ball possession team, they're going to get into positions tomorrow where they're going to be so happy to keep the ball and just keep it moving around because they know that we're not necessarily going to press them as much as we could because we run that risk of them going over the top and playing in behind.
I absolutely hear that. We'll get. I don't know if I want to open that kind of works already because it's an interesting debate how it's best to deal with them. I want to go back to Alex kind of one last time. How you obviously said that they aren't usually don't sit off them and pressure them is probably one of the ways to beat them. But what do you think is their biggest weakness? Because obviously, like you say, they sit back. But what I see whenever I watch La Liga is that, okay, maybe not Atletico, but both Barcelona and Real Madrid are absolutely dreadful when they're getting hit on the break. Like none of them seem to have any sort of idea how to defend it. To be honest, I think the entire Spanish league have no idea how to defend counterattacks, considering all they leave behind them is gaps. I mean, that's, in my opinion, always the biggest reason why there's so many big scorelines by Real Madrid, Barcelona so regularly. Less so maybe the last couple of seasons because they haven't been quite so inferior to everybody else. Superior, to everybody else as they have been over the last 20 years or whatever. But I always thought whenever I watch La Liga, it's like there is so much space because all the teams want to play football. None of them do Burnleys and just sit back. And the closest to it is probably Atletico Madrid. I'm sure there is a couple of examples. But whenever I do tune in, it's like they all try to play, they all try to attack, they all try to do this. Whenever you just have to watch Barcelona highlights, every opponent has like 3 or 4 shots on target. I'm like, that doesn't happen against Burnley. Like either they score or they don't even get anywhere near your goal. That's the 2 options you have. These Spanish sides, they attack, but then you have these, like you see the Messis and Benzemas and Dembélés just run through on goal, played these through balls, and like it's all right. Who cares about defending? So is that how you think it's the best way to beat them? Get close to them, get high up the pitch ball recoveries, and then attack them from there because they're poor in transition?
That is something, I'll keep it concise, but that's something that I think a lot of people said going into this game, meeting them high. But also, it's fair to say that Real Madrid have been met high before, like teams tried to press them, and they've completely taken advantage of it. Happened in the second leg with Liverpool. They are good at, like, even though these players aren't the quickest, and they can, you're completely correct, under a counter-attack, Kroos and Modric, even in 18-19 against Ajax, that's how they got torn apart. They're vulnerable to a counter, but they've got the ability to play through like a counter press or anything like that. I think the two big errors, the two big weaknesses I'd highlight is one, their left side, particularly with Ferland Mendy out, someone who's really crucial. He stepped in at centre back before at Real Madrid. He's that trusted by Zidane. With Mendy out, that left side becomes a lot less dangerous and a lot easier to get at, particularly because Vinicius is usually the furthest player forward, which means there's a lot of room, I think, on Madrid's left-hand side to get at them. And we're not too sure how Marcelo will perform at this level. And he hasn't played too often this season. I think it's only like 12, 13 appearances. And the other big weakness, not say too much about it, but Ian pointed out brilliantly, it is their height. It's something that lots of La Liga watchers have pointed out. And it was the thing, actually, as well, they were struggling at the start of the season. Like you said, Laurenz, one thing that's going wrong is that they were intent on getting it into the box, and the only player who could win a header in the box was Karim Benzema. Now, Courtois will be good from corners still. He has been a better goalkeeper, but he has got the second most errors in La Liga. So he's not foolproof. Just something to throw out there. But yeah, height advantage and their left side.
But I mean, personally, I don't think the height advantage will be such a big problem from open play that we have to be so worried that they're going to score open play headers against us. And to be honest, without Ramos, even from set pieces, I'd say that the most dangerous probably Casemiro, because we all know how ridiculously good Ramos is. Isn't Ramos the only defender in the top 5 leagues that has scored more goals than John Terry? I think I think it might be.
Yeah, that would sound about right. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he has like 100 goals, so that's ridiculous. But he's always been a crazy threat in that aspect. But Hajir, let me get back to you. Obviously, we've let Alex talk for quite a bit now. With all of that said, now, how do you think we should approach the game? I know you said at the beginning, sit off them, just let them do their thing, try to hit them on the break. First of all, how do you want to? We'll talk through the lineup in a minute, but do you want to have that as a consistent thing? Barely any press at all, even like for their midfielders, let alone the defenders, and literally just park their bus like we did in 2012? Or do you want a bit more? Because I'll tell you this now, even if you want that, I'm pretty sure Thomas Tuchel won't do that. It's just not Tuchel, for me at least. But hit me.
I mean, it's like you can't sit back during the entire game. There are parts of the game when you need to hold the ball, to rest, and many more things. I saw a comment earlier saying that it was about Varane, that he's fast, and I can't remember. Yeah, depends on Varane. He's very fast, CB. Exactly. And that is a thing that I didn't think of before. But the thing is, I think we will try to score the same way we did against what's your name? City and Atletico Madrid on the counter attacks. Because another thing with Real Madrid, Benzema loves drifting out to the left. That is one thing. And that last season, when I watched him, Hazard wasn't fit a lot, but I obviously watched him for Hazard, and it annoyed me so much. It annoyed me so much when he used to take Hazard space. That was really annoying for me. And I think if we sit back, because look, I can't believe I'm saying this, but Christensen is unbelievable. Rudiger, I don't think people give Rudiger enough credit these days. He has been superb. He doesn't make a mistake anymore. He doesn't make a mistake. And with Silva in the middle, and to be fair, I don't know. I think Christensen needs to play, but so does Silva and Rudiger and Aspi. So I don't know what Tuchel has in mind there, but they need to play, and they won't break us down like that. I don't think they will break us down like that. I think that this is the thing. I really, really wish Giroud had more pace. Or don't calm down now. I'm not saying he should play, but I wish Tammy was in form. I wish he was in form, because to have a striker that has a decent amount of pace and could occupy your center back with some sort of hold-up play like Varane, that would be so key for Werner. I would love to play Giroud, but I think Giroud is just too slow. I think we need someone that can run a bit more. And Varane is fast, Timo Werner is fast, but Varane can keep up with him. So if there are counterattacks, if Varane is on it, I think Varane is there. I think he's there to defend. That is why I would love a target guy that could occupy Varane or Militao. I think they're going to play a little bit more, because that would drag attention, and it would create space for players like Werner on the left. And I think he would have more space to run into. Now that Varane is there, Varane is fast, I think he can cover those spaces, and that worries me. That really, really worries me. So I hope that Werner gets into spaces where Varane isn't, because Varane will, I'm telling you, he will be there to defend. He will be there to defend. So I don't know who's going to start up front, Sure, to be fair, the goal we scored the other day with Werner, he has some decent hold-up play. He has some, but that was pretty much the first time this entire season. And he needs to be the one running into space. That is the thing as well. This is, with all due respect to West Ham, they've been in great form, but this is Real Madrid. He needs to be the one running into space. And even though I have an opinion on Varane joining Chelsea, as I said, he has space. He will cover space behind the back line. And against, look at how Liverpool played. Trent was honestly terrible. He was terrible. So they literally fell into the trap with the high back line, and they literally hurt them. And I don't know how or when Vinicius became so clinical, but it happened. I mean, it happened, and he scored twice. But this is what I'm saying. I think we should sit back during most part of the game. But of course, we need to we need to have possession sometimes. We can't, against City, for example. Against City, we sat back most of the game, but there was times during the game where we held possession, which we need to do for the players to rest, just for things to calm down a little bit. And I think N'Golo Kante is key for this game, because Modric is press resistance. You can put him on Modric or Kroos, and they will still find a way to create space for himself and make that pass. But he needs to be on it. And same with Mason Mount. Listen, Mason Mount, on that, when he plays right wing, he is so key for our attack. The one thing people don't understand, and I think it's clear to see when Kovacic and Jorginho play together, he covers them as well. He protects them as well. The other day against West Ham, he did a block in the second half. I think that would have been a goal if he wasn't there. And he's still up there defending. He needs to be on the top, he needs to be on it tomorrow because he is such a key figure for us scoring goals and for us not conceding goals. He is everywhere. He's here to protect the back line. So he needs to be on it as well. And he will be one of the front threes, right? He will be one of the three players at the top. And then you have two players, yeah. I like Ziyech. I thought Ziyech was going to do madness in this game. Yeah.
Let's hold the rest of the front three talk for a minute when we talk through the entire lineup.
But yeah, as I said, yeah, Mace needs to be on it. He needs to be on it just for our attacking output and for our defense.
I 100% agree. And to be honest, like Varane is quick, but Militao is super quick as well. So you're right in that sense. Maybe hitting them on the break can be made a bit difficult. But I think the big thing with that is that we don't let Werner have to do all the counter-attacking himself if he starts. Because that's kind of what it was like against West Ham in the first half. He was playing brilliant through balls to Werner. He had to drift out wide because that's where the balls went. And there was no one else in the box. I'm like, Pulisic, you have the pace. Bloody run up the pitch and get there. At least someone.
By the way, sorry, Laurenz. But by the way, he can't hold the ball for 10 minutes tomorrow. Sometimes the guy just holds the ball for too long. He needs to be quick. When he gets the ball, pass it straight away. Don't hold it for too long because that will literally invite their whole team to come back. He needs to be quicker on the ball tomorrow. Yeah, sorry.
But yeah. I 100% agree. 100% agree. And now to Ian, basically similar question. How do you think we actually should approach the game? And after that, we'll give it to Alex one more time before we talk through our lineup. Because like I said, I think Hajir has made some good points. It might be very difficult to counter-attack them. But I do still think that's whenever I see Madrid play and whenever I see them concede goals, that's still how they concede goals. Even if they are fast. I don't know if it's just you have to pick the right movement and because fast isn't everything. Remember, Rudiger is one of the fastest centre-backs probably in the entire world, right? And God knows how many times we've conceded on the break, even if we have Rudiger, even when we had Tomori. Like, just because you have fast centre-backs doesn't necessarily stop you from conceding counter-attacks. And that's kind of how I think it is because I know Alex said teams have tried to press Real Madrid and Liverpool have in the second leg as well, but I think that's too late. I think you need to do it from the get-go. I think you need to get on them because I don't think they expect us to get on them. I think, like people said, we were underestimating Porto. I think they will be underestimating us. I don't care what anyone says. I think they'll be underestimating us. And I think if we get right in their faces, we just need to take advantage of that before they clock it, or not clock it, but before they figure a way around it. Because Kroos, Modric, Casemiro, they're such good players. I know, obviously, compared to a few years ago, Vinicius, yeah, he's a danger. But other than against Liverpool, like Hajir said earlier, he's never in his career been clinical in any game ever. And then on the other side, whether you have Rodrigo, do you have Asensio, does Hazard start? Who the hell knows? And you have Benzema doing literally everything for them, right? So stop Benzema and stop the long balls to Vinicius, and how are they going to score? Other than from set pieces. That, to be honest, that's kind of it. Like, obviously Benzema is really, really good, so it's not just as easy as just stop him. But still, and I still think if you get at that midfield, if Kante is right on it, and you release Kante on Kroos, I think you can take out a Kroos out of the game very comfortably and win a few balls back quite high up the pitch, and then make use of, especially if Marcelo plays, huge gaps being left at the back, because they are not used to keeping this shape, because they're so used to their midfielders being so good at distributing the play. They just move. Whenever they win the ball back, they move up the pitch, right? In a shape, sure, but I've seen it too many times that they're just, if you win the ball back, they're just all over the shop. Marcelo, I mean, he made Team of the Year after year, and I was like, he has to be the worst defender to ever make Team of the Year ever, because he was a brilliant footballer, but I don't think I've ever seen a worse defender at such a good team. Like, he hates defending so much. I don't understand how he ever ended up a left back. But he's such a good footballer. It's ridiculous. But sorry, I kind of went on my own waffle there as I tried to actually give you the floor, Ian. But any counter arguments what I said, and then obviously your thoughts as well.
No, that's like Trent. Marcelo is like Trent. They are known for going forward. Robertson is a better defender. He never gets any credit, which really infuriates me. He's the better one of the two. But Trent goes forward all the time and picks up a shed load of assists, which is, that's part of the game. But you still got to be able to defend. And I remember when we lost to them 5-3, Liverpool. We got one of our goals. I'm pretty sure it might have even been two, actually. We definitely got one of our goals going down Trent's right-hand side. Down that wing, because he was so far forward that we then exploited the space. The thing for me and about beating them tomorrow, in terms of, I'm not fussed if we don't beat them. as long as we score. If we go and draw 2-2, we get 2 away goals, I would really accept that. I can't lie. But we have to score goals. And we have to score goals in different ways. And that's why it's a bit of an interesting one. And I'm going to throw it back to the West Ham game ever so quickly. Is we weirdly decided to play a back three and then play Dave as a right wing back. And it almost felt like they were resting both Callum Hudson-Odoi and Reece James. And you're kind of thinking, well, if you want to rest one, surely you play the other one, because surely that makes a little bit more sense. And I know it's about a little bit defensive and whatever, and I get it. But almost you're kind of looking at it and thinking, well, was there something maybe in that? Maybe did they want to keep both of them ready to go? Reece James on the right-hand side, and then all of a sudden maybe get Callum Hudson-Odoi nice and hard at the pitch to go on the on the counter-attack. I'm not too sure. I think it's something to consider. But you've got to score goals in different ways for me. I completely agree. I think Mason Mount should be one of the front three because he can create something out of nothing. That's what he did in the Porto game where he turns and bangs it, nice and simplistic. Timo Werner down the middle or on the left-hand side, I would be fine with either. I think the big one is I don't think you play Giroud. I don't think they play Tammy. I think it's a case of is it Pulisic or is it Havertz? Because I don't think Havertz would do that well in terms of going up one-on-one against Militao and Varane. But again, I don't think this game's going to be won by Chelsea necessarily in the air. But I think if you're trying to go from back to front very quickly, although he doesn't seem like he's that fast, Havertz carries the ball so well and it allows Timo Werner to make these runs and Mason Mount to make these runs that cause problems and exploit space that people like Marcelo and whoever are actually missing out on because they're all bombing forward. I think it could be very interesting tomorrow. And I think, again, I talk quite regularly about what I call oh shit factor, which is, it's not necessarily it's going to happen all the time, but it's something that Timo Werner is a prime example. He has got electrifying pace. If you fail to plan for that and fail to deal with it, they will make you pay. It may not be that he scores, but it will be he puts a couple of chances in. He causes problems. Big up Kevin Lewis G. But yeah, I think for Timo Werner, he has to play tomorrow just because he's got that what we're calling oh shit factor. If Real Madrid don't deal with it, they've got a massive problem on their hands. And I don't necessarily know if they're going to deal with it the way that I think a lot of people are expecting them to because of how much they like to go forward. Every time they get the ball, they go forward. They try and get forward and they try and score goals. Few opportunities, a lot of goals. It's clinical. That's why they win a lot of games. But is it perfect? Of course it's not. And it can definitely be exploited.
It can, and that makes a lot of sense in my opinion. But I do want to get to the super chat. But Uri, first of all, appreciate it a lot. Saying Laurenz Vescoli, not sure why you assume Marcelo will play. Nacho more likely to play since Madrid want the defensive shape. Casemiro is a silent threat. What he's basically saying is that recently, when Mendy has been out, it's not actually been Marcelo at left back. It's actually been Nacho Fernandez, a right-footed centre back. But he is again very quick. Madrid just have loads of quick centre backs. It's crazy. He's not that tall. I think it's like maybe 6 foot, just on the edge. It might be slightly under as well, to be honest. From my recollection of either looking at him on FIFA or whenever I've seen stats, I don't think he's that tall. But to me, that says, well, then we need to not put Mason on the right, but put Mason on the left and have someone to take Fernandez one-on-one. Because especially if he's strong foot, it's the right foot. You can take him and go to the ball and get across him against him much easier than you would maybe some other people. But hey, that's a different debate for a different time, maybe. And when I say different time, just means in about 15 minutes. But Lewis, first of all, thank you for joining. But I kind of want to put this to you before we get into...
My bad.
Sorry, say that again?
I just said sorry it took so long. My bad.
It's all good, bro. It's all good. You're here when it matters. How do you feel ahead of the game? Confident, nervous? How do you feel?
Bit of both. Like, this Chelsea team can beat anybody within the space of 90 minutes. So I can stand by that at the very least. The City game gives me a full strength of confidence. But it's not to underestimate Real Madrid either. Like, I think even with the injuries, they're going to be a very strong side. I don't think it's going to hold them back too much or not nearly as much as people are hoping that it would. the midfield three speaks for itself. It's one of the best midfield threes in history, and age doesn't mean anything compared to this front three. They're all going to cause us problems. Kroos will pick out anybody on the pitch if you give him an inch of space, and all he knows how to do is find space because he isn't really that mobile, doesn't really run around the pitch. But he finds spaces and he just does massive amounts of damage with it. Luka Modric, similar as well, but he's a bit more mobile. He can get around the pitch a lot more, and he's just impossible to get the ball off. And Casemiro is going to be a problem on both ends. Defensively, he's going to be the first one to try and shut us down. Offensively, it actually pops up a lot more with goals than I expected before I did my research more into Real Madrid. It's going to be a tough match. I don't think it's going to be as tough as the second leg because that's the one I think Eden Hazard starts in. And just watching the way he's playing right now in training sessions and even the Real Betis game, I know he's going to come at 100%, and we know exactly how dangerous and motivated Eden Hazard is. And it's going to be so annoying and heartbreaking if his only Champions League performance that is deemed world class is against us after like 9 years, and he spent most of it with us. But like the way it's looking, like Eden Hazard's going to come and just run shit for 90 minutes, and we just have to find a way to cope with it. I don't really know how. But, I mean, we can beat anybody in 90 minutes. We can shut down a team and be really hard to break down ourselves. So I believe in Chelsea, but Real Madrid ain't no joke. No joke.
Real Madrid 100% ain't no joke. Before I get to ask Alex now how he thinks Real Madrid will line up and who he thinks is there, like if you can pick up a specific player that might be a weakness, and then we go through our team that we would like to see play tomorrow. First of all, we have more than 300 people watching. Big shout out to everyone that's tuning in. I appreciate you. Make sure you get subscribed if you haven't already. That'd be massively appreciated. We're on the road to 10,000 subscribers. We're going to get there ever so tad quicker. The more of you that subscribe right now, we're less than 600 away at this point. So get subscribed. That'd be massively appreciated. Smash the like button. Let's get as many likes as we possibly can. Let's see how many we have, because we definitely don't have anywhere near enough. How many do we have? Let's see. 75, to be fair. It's already quite good, but let's get to 150 right now. Go down below, smash the like button, turn it from a boring old grey or white to a lovely blue. And use the super chat function if you fancy it. Support the channel and make sure that we actually see your comments, because there's a lot of people in the chat. But with that said, Alex, how do you think Real Madrid will line up? What formation, and who do you think will fill which positions? And, what people really want to know, obviously Lewis kind of hinted on it, and you did as well in terms of talking about Vinicius. Is Eden Hazard going to start against Chelsea?
I'd be shocked if he does. I really... I think Lewis is correct in saying that the fact that a full-fit Hazard, a full-fit on-form Hazard, that would be something terrifying. But he's just come back and he's had such a terrible 2 years. And you compare that to Vinicius, who has looked absolutely brilliant. I mean, Hajir was mentioning it earlier, mate. You're saying like Vinicius has started being a little more clinical. He's not quite at the level Zidane wants him at, but he's running games on the left-hand side. Even watching El Clasico a few weeks ago, he was the sole reason Barcelona were getting pinned back. So I think with Real Madrid's lineup, and I think it will be, looking at the weekend, they started Carvajal at right back, and it was Asensio Rodrigo up front besides Benzema. I think it will be up front, Benzema, Vinicius, Asensio. Asensio will be sort of like your Willian under Sarri, someone who's a bit more reserved and someone who's going to do a bit what Zidane tells him, basically. Midfield will be Casemiro, Modric, Kroos. And then in defence, they have... don't be surprised if they line up in the back three, because they've done that before, but it'll probably be 4-3-3. And Carvajal, Militao, Varane, and Nacho, as the super chat mentioned there. And then Courtois in goal. So, not to waffle on too much, but I think I know I mentioned the left side is where I think Chelsea can get at them. But I do think one weakness might be Carvajal, interestingly, because he's only played 12 games this season, not starts. I think he's only had 12 appearances. So he's not exactly on the boil. And I think he's someone where I think Chelsea down the left generally do a bit more damage. So I think Carvajal might be someone you can catch dry, because Nacho, he's not going to be creative, but he's still going to be a solid defender. And we've mentioned about the midfield and things. And I guess you guys are probably going to have your Chelsea discussion soon. It'll go past 6 o'clock. So I'll sum it up quite nicely before I'll let you guys discuss. And then I'll give my own Chelsea line as my final contribution bit. But yeah, I think with this game, Hajir was mentioning as well about how Chelsea should maybe sit back a bit. And I hear that. And Laurenz, you've been talking as well how maybe Chelsea need to press from the start. seems to do a little combination of both. I think going into the lineup, I think Havertz should start up front, and it's interesting because I had my little lineup ready, and I was going to say Giroud until Ian was speaking, and you reminded me that Kai Havertz exists, and he might not get a goal, but what he will be is mobile, and what I think will be crucial is that he will hang on Toni Kroos. He's not necessarily going to press him, but he can be a striker who's, when Chelsea are out of the possession, he'll go straight on Toni Kroos and mark him, which I think can be really useful. And for the rest of the lineup, I think Azpilicueta, I know you guys didn't like him starting at right wing back at West Ham, but I think it might be something to do just in this first leg, just to be defensive and be safe. And then maybe if Chelsea need a goal. So maybe, yeah, I was what I'm thinking, because Ian, just before you joined, Lewis, Ian was saying maybe it was a chance to rest Callum Hudson-Odoi, Reece James. I actually think it was Tuchel giving Azpi a run out of right wing back as a warm up for Madrid, because even if Nacho starts at left side, around 38% of Madrid's play comes down the left. So I think Tuchel will look to shut that down. And just before I hand it off to you guys, because I don't want to take you too much of your time, I think the lineup Chelsea should have is Mendy in goal, Christensen, Silva, Rudiger in defence, Azpilicueta right wing back to shut down Madrid's left side, Chilwell left wing back, and of course in midfield you kind of stuck with Jorginho and Conte, but I wouldn't be starting a Billy Gilmore. I'm sure there'll be some people who will say you should give him a chance, but no, you need experience in this. And the front three, Mason Mount, Pulisic, and Kai Havertz. I don't think Werner should start. I don't think he's going to do well against this back line, not just because they're quick, as you guys have actually mentioned, but also Madrid tend to drop quite deep when they're out of possession. So I don't think there'll actually be that space for him to exploit. Mount, because he's on form and good at finding space between the lines. And as I said, Havertz, he's mobile and will do some of Tuchel's dirty work. But yeah, Laurenz, if you wanted to hand off to the Chelsea fans now, if you want to say goodbye to me, that's fine by me.
No, you can stick around. We'll see what you unless you.
I do have to go at 6. I do have to go at 6.
Fair. Okay. Well, then you can head off. That's fair enough. Otherwise, I was gonna get your opinion on what we've come up with, what we've created in the next.
I'll stick around as long as I can, man. It's all right.
All right, off we go. Then, with that said, because I don't want this to happen and Azpi plays right wing back. I don't think it's necessary, personally. But again, I haven't looked into Madrid as much as Alex has, of course. I did have the same thought. Maybe the idea against West Ham was just to try this and see how it works. And then judging off how the West Ham game went, he might do it against Madrid as well, for exactly the reason that Alex just mentioned. So let's get into the team we would like to field. Obviously, we can all agree Mendy will start in goal. It will not be Kepa. But I suppose next we get to the centre-back 3. And I'll quickly tell you mine before I go to Hajir next. For me, I know it sounds stupid, but for me, Christensen doesn't start. And I know it sounds stupid. And
I'm off for it. Thanks for everything. I'm off.
I know how stupid it sounds, because on form he has to. But also on form, Thiago does. And I don't think against Real Madrid with their counter-attacking pace, we should have a total centre-back back 3. I think it's important to have Azpi part of that, if that makes sense, because it makes our defending of counter-attacks better when Azpi plays right centre-back, in my opinion. And just because of the experience and how we know that Christensen sometimes crumbles under pressure, and that we know he even feels sick before games, and when the pressure comes high, that's not. Wouldn't be surprised if Christensen tomorrow it turns out he's ill and not in the squad or something. Now that's Christensen.
On my life, if I hear that he's ill, I might have to disappear. But I don't know. It's this thing about him being ill all the time. It's so weird for me, because he balled out away at Atletico Madrid. So it's like, so wait, how come you had to miss the second leg then? Which is all weird. And he had the first leg against Porto, but then didn't make the second leg either. But I think that was an add-on to the injury that he had for the Crystal Palace.
Yeah, I think that was an actual injury.
Correctly. But I agree that Thiago Silva should start on experience alone. We need experience at this point. My only thing is he played Saturday into Tuesday, and I'm not sure if he plays for that. Maybe he plays and gets substituted early, I'm not sure. But I could see like the Fulham game and then playing the second leg both for Thiago Silva, because that's Saturday to Wednesday. There's a bit more of a gap. This one's Saturday to Tuesday, and I don't really see him play many Saturdays to Tuesdays. I still want him to, I just don't know if he does.
I think that's a very fair shout. I think that's a very fair shout. But I think if there's ever a time to risk something like that, it's the Champions League semi-final, isn't it?
Especially how many
when you have
times
5
this guy
subs.
dropped down injured?
Oh, no, of course you don't want that to happen.
Every
but
single one worries me. If you risk it now, like we have tougher games coming. Madrid is ridiculous here. I'm not even trying to underestimate them like
but
that.
we have
But
to
look
beat
at the
Real
run
Madrid
of
to
games
have
that
a
we have
tougher
after
game.
this.
We need to beat Real Madrid to have a tougher game because only the Champions League final will be tougher than this, I reckon.
I know, and I'd take him on experience, but at the risk of potentially overplaying him, I feel like it would be better you rest him in this match, you play him Fulham, and then you play him against Real Madrid in the second leg.
Do you need to play him against Fulham, though?
That's what I think.
I mean,
I'll
that's
check
a
how many
banana
games he's
split
played
for me.
before.
They're a relegation threatened side. At this point, they're dangerous as well because they're fighting for their lives.
Yeah, but Christensen can do that fine. Do you know what I mean?
Have lost his cheek.
Christensen is fine
disagree
against
on
bloody
that.
Fulham. Do you know what I mean?
Christensen's fine for either. My worry is about Thiago Silva and overplaying him. It's not about just getting Christensen into the squad. That's
I
why
mean,
I've got a question.
Obviously,
mark.
for us, that's we don't know, right? I think you make a fair point, but if Tuchel starts him, he's probably fit enough to do so. If he
If
doesn't
Tuchel
start
starts him, I'll
he's-
go with wherever Tuchel starts. Like we've lost one game with him, so whatever
Exactly.
he says.
And
But
also,
this is speculation, isn't it?
just to throw a point in, for the last like month-ish, or couple of months, he's played one game per week, pretty much. Like it's always been about 5 or 6 days in between each game.
Yeah, that's why I just don't see him starting this match. Like I could see him start Fulham and then start the semi-final because there's a bit more of a gap there. I feel like this is too much.
Okay, but let's just presume he is fit to start. Obviously, if he isn't, it will be Christensen anyway. Like we know that, right? And if he is fit enough to start, it's a question: is it Thiago Silva or is it Christensen? Unless you think like Alex that maybe Aspi will be right wing back, and then Christensen plays right centre back with Thiago Silva central centre back. Presuming all of them are fit to start, as at least Tuchel said they are in the press conference, I would go Rudiger, Thiago Silva, Aspi. Let me go with you, Hajir. What would your centre back 3 be for tomorrow?
I think there's a reason behind Aspi played at right wing back the other day, and I don't think it's because being better defensively. I think it's just because he want to play Christensen as well. Listen, yeah, I haven't been the biggest part of Christensen in the last year, but recently, ever since Tuchel came in, he's been unreal, and I can't drop it for tomorrow. I just can't drop Christensen tomorrow. I think he has to play, and I think Aspi has to play as well, and Silva and Rudiger, obviously. So I think it will be Christensen, Silva, and Rudiger. I think Reece will be dropped. I think you need to play. I can't see you drop Christensen at the moment. I think it's been way too good to drop him. And listen, yeah, he has like his mentality, like him crumbling under pressure. Yeah, like I think under Tuchel has been. I don't think it's the same as it has been before. I think he can handle that pressure. He played in the Europa League final. I know that it is Europa League, but he is still against Arsenal in the European final, and he did that quite well. Even though Rudiger and David Luiz were our CB top CB pairing. So I just can't see him. I can't see him get dropped tomorrow. I think that is the reason why Aspi played right wing back, to fit all of them in together, because obviously you can't drop Aspi. And with Silva, yeah, this is how I see it. Yeah, as you said, Laurenz, before, he's the only player in our squad that has made a Champions League final, and you need that experience in that team. I would risk it because this is the games you want to win. Like this is the important game of the season. Like the one that before a big final, you just have to play him. I think if he couldn't play tomorrow, he wouldn't have played against West Ham. I think he's able to play both games. I think he would have got rested against West Ham and played on Tuesday. But just because I think that he will play both games, and I think he played the other day to try out this back five with Aspi as the right wing back to fit all of them in to see how it does, and he did amazing. Let's be real. I don't think West Ham had a clear chance. So yeah, I think it's. But at the back, yeah, to answer your question, it's got to be Christensen, Silva, and Rudiger.
I think that's fair. I totally agree, and that's the point I was trying to make to Lewis earlier. I think we can make top 4 whether Thiago Silva is fit or not. But I think on a game of this magnitude, I think if there's even a small doubt about Thiago Silva, I think you play him anyway, because that's what you need him for. What's the point if you have him fit for a Champions League final if we don't make the Champions League final because we lose tomorrow? There's no point in that. So and we can make top 4 with or without Thiago Silva. And sure, it would be disappointing if we were in the Champions League final without him, but to think we don't make the Champions League final because we don't play him is even worse in my head. But let me go to you, Ian. What would be your back 3? Do you think Hajir and Alex have a shout here with Aspie at right wing back that might have been Tuchel's plan?
I think it's going to be Aspie at right wing back, or he don't play at all. And I think I don't think he's going to get dropped. I think it is more likely that he's going to be at right wing back. But the back 3, to answer the question, I would agree. I think it would be Christensen, Thiago Silva, and Rudiger. I think that all 3 of them have been too good necessarily to drop. It's just a tough debate that you've got. We haven't necessarily got the injury problems the same way that Real Madrid have got a few, so their team gets kind of picked for them. But for me, all 3 of them have been too good. And Thiago Silva, I'm completely with you. This is why you bring him in. You didn't bring him in to get you into the top 4. You brought him in to win you pieces of silverware. We thought and hoped it was going to be the league. Now somehow it's the Champions League. We're in the semi-final of it and the final of the FA Cup. He's got to play.
Can I just throw in a lot of us weren't talking about Zuma, and we spoken about the aerial threat. And I know definitely not. I know he's defensively, but it's just throw out the devil's advocate. Devil's advocate. He would be good for set pieces, and we've mentioned that. I don't think he's just
he's not good for the counter attack, and you can't risk that against Madrid. That would be my logic.
It's way too risky. Way too risky. Yeah. I wish. You know what? Yeah, I wish Christensen and Zuma was one player. I mean, that's
you'd be all right then. You'd have a decent player.
Yeah. Exactly. But Lewis, obviously you said you do really want to start Christensen, it seems, and you're kind of hesitant about Thiago Silva. Again, presuming Thiago is good to play, who is your centre-back 3?
I'll still go Christensen, Silva, and Rudiger.
And is that then, let's just go into the wing-backs, is that then Azpilicueta at right wing-back, or is that Aspie not playing?
Well, I'm a lot more sold on Aspie at right wing back now because it feels, just based off the conversation that we had, it does feel a lot more like the West Ham game was a bit of a dress rehearsal for what we're going to be doing tomorrow. So, yeah, I would go Azpilicueta at right wing back. I wasn't really sure what my other options are going to be because Reece James I don't really mind him as a bad option, but he needs to have someone good on the side next to him that he can link up with. Otherwise, he's just going to be too restricted. Hudson-Odoi, I feel he's just a bit too attack-minded for this one. Like, he can track back and everything, but that's perfect against teams that sit deep. And to be honest, Real Madrid can sit deep against us, and I would expect them to play that sort of style against us in this game. So that wouldn't be a bad option either. It'd be Azpilicueta or Hudson-Odoi. It depends on what our approach is going to be for the match. But if it's defensive, we go Azpilicueta. If it's more attacking, we go Hudson-Odoi.
I think you people are mad. This whole Calamantabaya right wing back thing, you people are madness. Like, I know we did it
against Atletico Madrid and they sat deep against us. If Real Madrid do it, I think we should do the same thing as well.
I think it's harsh on Reece.
Like you were saying as well, you want someone, if Nacho's playing as a left back, you want someone that will be able to test him. Hudson-Odoi, I think, has one of the highest rates in the league of driving the ball into the box. So I'd say Hudson-Odoi after him.
I was playing again. I was about to mention Lewis's point. I think that is something to look at. The reason you would have a attacking player at right wing back.
Listen, it makes sense. The logic behind it makes sense, but does it make more sense than being scared of their attack? I don't know.
It does. No, because my worry is more the midfield than the attack. Because the midfield's going to be what supplements them.
But the midfield won't. I mean, unless it's long shots, but let's hope Mendy can deal with those. Unless it's long shots, the midfield aren't going to score them the goals. So we still need to be worried about their attack.
Casemiro might get involved, but it's going to... No, but I mean Modric and Kroos, because they could just dominate our midfield and we barely see anything of the ball. They're the real problem. Like, the attack's a problem in itself. But I feel like controlling the midfield is where the game's going to be won and lost.
See, I wouldn't even have a problem with not having the control in the midfield, as long as you, every time you get the ball, make something of it. This is about the clinical nature. And maybe Timo Werner's goal the other day helped him out slightly. I could completely understand not playing him at all. I would understand it. But as long as every time you get the ball, you make them pay, it's clinicalness, and it's about scoring different types of goals, which is something that we haven't necessarily done. But we did it against Atletico, scored twice. Did it against Man City the other day, scored, won the semi-final, and we also did it against Porto as well. Not Porto, sorry, it was the other one. Who else we played? Can't remember it now. Oh no, it was the other Atletico game. Yeah, as long as we can do our job that way, we're fine. It's just make sure you get.
Well,
just make sure you
we did dominate midfield.
You get the ball.
Against Atletico, we did dominate midfield, though. We had like 70% of the ball in those two legs, didn't we?
Now listen.
Their
This
midfield was so bad in the second leg. Like, I don't even know if I can take
And
that.
the first leg.
They were horrendous.
But about this Callum Hudson-Odoi point, I think I've had enough of him at the right wing back. He is the most talented youngster from Cobham, and he's direct. I'm tired of seeing him at the right wing back. He needs to do more work that he shouldn't have to do. I need to see Callum at the left wing position. It's not like Van is setting the world on fire. Pulisic keeps going around like a fidget spinner like 10 times a game. Like it comes time when it's annoying. I think we need to see Callum Hudson-Odoi more on the left wing. It needs to happen. He's super talented. That injury he had during Sarri's season held him back massively. But I think we need to see more of Callum at the left wing position because he's direct. Defenders are scared of him because once he hits form at that left wing position, and his job is not defending like it is at right wing back, I think we're going to see a different monster there. I need to see Callum more consistently at the left wing position in the future. Maybe next season.
You're right with that.
Yeah, I don't think the
time
time's
to
now
try
for
that.
it. But...
Yeah, next season, exactly.
Right.
Next season.
I think you're right. Callum should probably play them more, but tomorrow is not the time to start doing that, if that makes sense.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
to be fair, if he did play there, sorry, very quickly, Laurenz, if he did play there tomorrow and it was on the counter attack instead of Timo Werner, could essentially have the same output. I don't know, maybe it's an option. I don't think he should play right wing back, but going forward, left hand side, maybe this is the opportunity because Pulisic is a bit 50-50. Havertz is going to be direct. Mount's going to be direct, and if it all goes tits up, you just throw Mount and Callum Hudson-Odoi on opposite sides. I don't know. Could be.
Let's be real. He isn't touching the pitch. Let's be real. Unfortunately.
So what, Hudson-Odoi?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. But it would be an interesting thing to do. And it could be someone like him that they're not planning for. And then all of a sudden this pacey Donny comes on and you think, oh, fuck, where are we going to go and how are we going to deal with him?
Pacey Donny.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, for me, the back three, just to quickly take it back to that, should be Rudiger, Thiago Silva, and Aspie with Reece James at right wing back. But if I think about what I think Tuchel will do, I think, although I also have a logic against that because right wing back is much more run intensive than right centre back. So if you wanted to play Aspie right wing back against Real Madrid, I think you would not have played him right wing back against West Ham because
I disagree. No.
Giving him a chance to play is all well and good, but he's still 32 or whatever he is, plays every game. And, he already had to run his bloody lungs out against Fredericks from West Ham. He's already shattered. So I'm not sure if he has the legs to do right wing back again, but I do still wouldn't be surprised at all if Tuchel actually does that. I think we're all in agreement that Chilwell starts left wing back. Anyone that disagrees, shout now.
No.
Good.
No.
Then obviously we'll also play a 3-4-2-1. We're pretty confident of that, right? And because Mateo Kovacic, by the way, still out injured, will not be able to play. Billy Gilmour is not going to start, and Mason Mount is not going to start in a double pivot. It's going to be Kante and Kovacic. We're all in agreement on that as well, I presume.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Like Kante Jorginho.
Kante Jorginho. You said Kovacic, but yeah.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, Kante Jorginho.
Oh, yeah.
We wish.
We wish, yeah.
We don't.
And quickly, before we get to the front three, which I'm sure will be the most interesting discussion, do we set Kante free to just go and get the ball, or do we try and tell him, sit a bit, mate? Sit a bit next to Jorginho here and let's dominate by not letting them even get to our back three. What do we let Kante do?
Can I start with that very quickly?
Yeah, go on.
It comes on perfectly. That's why you play Mount and you play Havertz and you play Werner, because you get Havertz and Mount to go and get the ball and always drop back, almost become extra midfielders if you really want to dominate that battle, and then you try and potentially exploit either Werner or Pulisic's pace. If you want more pace, then you go for Werner. But that's why, for me, Mount has to play as one of the forwards, and I think Havertz has to play as the other one, because even if he doesn't necessarily put the work rate in defensively, he puts himself about, and you have to think about where he is.
Okay. I'll throw in another point about Kante because look, one side of it is if you ask Kante to go out and press like the midfielder, it's going to not necessarily midfield. We're talking Luka Modric and especially Toni Kroos. If you ask him to go and press them, he's leaving space behind him, and when you're in a double midfield pivot, that can be worrying. On the other hand, Conte, we saw against Liverpool, you can have these midfielders sit and occupy the spaces, but if you're not there to stop Toni Kroos pinging a ball over the top for Vinicius to run in behind, that's a big issue. And that's not just something to say, like, that's not just football talk. You're going to stop Toni Kroos pinging balls over. That's it. This is what he does. He's golden at that. So that's just one other half of it.
Exactly. I would tend to agree with that statement. For me, like I said, I don't want Jorginho to sit too deep either. I think both need to be rather aggressive. Kante needs to be super aggressive. And then one of the front three, Mason Mount in my head, helps press. Because Kante or Mount can't press both Modric and Kroos. So
Yes.
One's on Modric, one's on Kroos. And I want us to keep two up top, not just one, so that we can, when we get the ball back, have two options. Because if you only have one, it's way too easy for the defense to just go after him, crowd him out, and then he can't do anything with it. So we need two. We need two that go a bit like the older Werner Ziyech goals, all like that. Send one, the other one is up there already, gets in there, easy pass in the box, boom, goal. So I don't think you can only leave one up top. And that's why I think Kante needs to push to help that third front three player and Mount out to press them. But Ian, you want to say something?
My only worry with that is we were literally just saying about how somehow the yard of pace comes into play for Casemiro. There has been multiple times that Jorginho has been overrun because he has not got the yard of pace. And if Casemiro is in full flow, he is going past Jorginho like it's not even funny. That's my only worry.
That's all well and good. But then I want, because Casemiro will at least start. Obviously, Alex explained to us that Casemiro likes to push up higher than the other two eventually when they have possession, probably for Kroos to Modric to stay back to control the play, while Casemiro, who's not as technically gifted, get into the box for that cross or a shot from distance. With that said, he still starts deeper than the other two. So by my logic, if he does go on a run, just send Mount after him. Do you know what I mean? And Kante can come in if necessary as well. And let's not forget, we have a back three. And I do want to quickly get to this point because Alex said, Atalanta and all that. Yeah, but especially in the first leg, that was the most deadest Champions League game I've ever seen in my entire life. Real Madrid had like half a chance on goal in the entire game.
And then man sent off as well, didn't they, Atalanta?
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. And why is that? Because they played a back three. A back three is much better at handling the whole over-the-top Vinicius thing than a back two. So that makes the whole thing already a lot easier that we play a back three. Whether it's Christensen or Aspie there, already makes that a lot easier to defend, in my opinion. Hence why I'm not so scared of the midfield just because of that ball. Because I'm like, that's fine. Go through then. We have three behind us. That's the whole idea why we play it.
Maybe just to lead into, especially leading into the forwards, because I know you wanted to get onto that. A smart thing would be having Jorginho and Conte midfield, and then Mount in the front three. But when Chelsea are out of possession, Jorginho will sit deeper, to talk about Ian's point, that you don't want Jorginho to push up and then have to turn around, which takes like 3 years, and then run backwards. You want Jorginho to sit back and Kante and Mount to be the aggressive midfielders against Kroos and Modric, like you, Laurenz, was saying. And then you can still leave, potentially, as I said, have down Havertz and Pulisic up front to get ready on the counter-attack, or if one of them needs to drop back and crowd the midfield. That's where I'd start off with it.
Yeah, and that's kind of my thinking as well. Because when I say I also want Jorginho to play quite high, I also want the back three to play quite high. Obviously, we can't leave huge gaps. Obviously, we can't have the back three sitting deep and then Kante and Jorginho go up crazy. That's obviously stupid. Obviously, because then we have exactly the problem you mentioned. Then Jorginho will get run past and Kante's too high up the pitch. Obviously, that won't work. But how is it for you, Lewis? Would you make them both sit? Would you let Kante do his thing and be aggressive? How would you deal with it?
Kante would have to be the one in the middle breaking up play because Jorginho has to be the sitter in this game between the pair of them. Like, you don't want Jorginho roaming. You want him just picking out players and finding out space. I don't know, because with Kante, it's just his turnovers, because he loses the ball too many times to me, or his passing IQ has just really dipped as well. I can trust him to break up play. I can trust him to progress the ball. He's good under pressure. It's just as soon as it comes to the final pass, like sometimes it works out well, it finds a player, but sometimes it's the wrong player. There could have been another one where you could have literally put a player through and you've missed it. Or he just loses the ball off a bad pass. And that's the problem for me, because I always say in midfield that I don't really care what you do before it. If you lose the ball afterwards, you've just lost the ball. And now we have to deal with a counter-attack. That all your good work before gets undone if you lose the ball straight afterwards. And my thing is, Kante just loses the ball a bit too much for my liking. But we have Kante. I hope he has a good performance. I know he can have a good performance. He's world class at what he's really good at. It's just I need to see him make smarter passes because I know he can do it. It's not to say he can't. There's been times like the Mason Mount assist against Liverpool, for example. I think there might have been one in the City game or a game recently that I can't remember off the top of my head. But he has good passes in him. I need to see it more consistently. If he does it in this game, it's a perfect game for it. But I don't know, because of how strong Real Madrid's midfield is, I just feel so cautious when it comes to our midfield too.
It makes sense. Like I think you have a point. Hajir, obviously you've kind of explained yourself in a way already, but if you want to quickly expand on that, let's do it now before we get into the top 3 discussion.
No, I don't think I need to add anything, to be honest. I think everybody made a good point. I think a bit of both. I mean, Jorginho should be the one sitting back. But then, as I said earlier, in the stream, like Mace has a huge part tomorrow. Mason Mount, if you didn't know who Mace is, he has a huge part tomorrow, and he needs to be the one protecting those two. And then Kante kind of needs to be the one protecting Jorginho, even like not to that extent, but like they need to, what's it called? They need to defend each other, like protect each other. So I think that's where Mason Mount doing there. I mean, I think it's more on Casemiro, and then you have Kante deeper down. I mean, to be fair, I think Tuchel has a plan. So, well, I hope he has a plan. Otherwise, it's going to be a tough one tomorrow. But I think Mason Mount needs to be on it. He needs to be the one protecting them too. And then obviously Kante has the job after, then Jorginho. But I think the boys made some good points. I don't think we have anything else to add to that.
Before you guys,
to be honest, I'm already with you. Alex, go on.
I was just saying, before you guys go to the front 3, I'm gonna have to head off now. But I did want to leave you with just before you finish the front 3. I wanted to leave you a very big quote that Zidane said that I think was quite weighty. That he said about Chelsea. He said in the press conference today about Chelsea, he said, "I think they're going to be a team that attacks and defends." That was his words on Chelsea, which is probably the most useless.
Wow.
So I just wanted to leave you with that. But good
football knowledge by Zinedine Zidane.
Now I know where Owen gets it from.
But thank you for having me on, Laurenz. So thanks to the panel. It's great to speak to you. And thanks to the chat. I saw a couple of people labeling me Ed Sheeran. Always love that comparison. Thank you very much for that. But,
I appreciate it, bro. Again, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't already, check out Alex at EuroExpert on Twitter down in the description below. And again, I really do appreciate you coming on. We'll talk to you soon, yeah?
Awesome. Brilliant. Thanks, guys.
Brilliant. And Hajir, as I was already with you, I would say, let me start with you. Who do you think should be your front 3? We know it's going to be Mason Mount, and you were kind of already getting into it earlier. Who would be those other front 3 for you?
I wish Tammy was in form. I really like if Tammy was able to dunk on Courtois, like that would put a smile on my face. It would put the biggest smile on my face. But let's be real, I mean, if Tammy scores tomorrow, mad scenes, especially from my part. Mad scenes.
Hey, if Tammy scores tomorrow, you have to streak your Swedish town.
Mate, if Tammy scores tomorrow, it's done. Like, it's done. Honestly, my reaction on both the watch along and on Twitter, it's going to be mad. But in all seriousness, though, I really, really wish Tammy was informed. But because to have a striker that can hold that ball and have a decent amount of pace, I think that would be really, really good tomorrow. And Tammy won't play. Let's be real. He won't play, And if Giroud had some more pace, I think that would be perfect because then you have that player. I don't think it's fair to throw Havertz into that striker position because against Porto, the guy got eaten up alive by Pepe. And I mean, Varane and Militao, they aren't much worse at the moment. He literally got eaten alive. And he needs to have some sort of hold-up play. And I don't think, I always say that Kai Havertz's best position is as a number 10. When he's more free, he doesn't need to do that work, but he can still create and score chances and score goals. And I think we will see that more next season. So I don't think it's fair to throw Havertz in that position. But if I'm being real, even though I would honestly love time with the play, I'm biased, of course. So, but that's not going to happen, is it? I think it's going to be Mason Mount, Pulisic, and Timo Werner, especially when Pulisic was on the press conference today. I think it's in my eyes, it's kind of obvious that he's going to play. I think it's 100% sure he's gonna play. And of course, Werner is obviously gonna play. But I'm just gonna say this, like I'm going to be harsh tomorrow on the players. Like this is the moments we needed to perform. You can't mess about tomorrow. Like you need to be on it. If you get a chance, score. You can't miss 10 chances tomorrow. You literally can't. Like Werner needs to be clinical. As I said as the joke before, like his form held for like 5 minutes the other day against West Ham, then it disappeared. I hope, like in all seriousness though, I hope if like that goes actually gives him some sort of confidence because he needs to be clinical tomorrow. He needs to be clinical. Liverpool weren't clinical against Real Madrid. They got a couple of chances, but they weren't clinical, And that snake in goal, like we need to dunk on him. Like we need to embarrass him. Honestly,
that is a fair shot. I want to ask you one question. What about Hakim Ziyech? Because Hakim Ziyech has scored against Atletico, scored against Porto, scored against Man City, and even scored a very important, even though not terms of big name opponent, second goal against Sheffield United to put us into the FA Cup semi-final. Hakim Ziyech has turned up with those important goals and has also played in those big games. Like I said, Atletico, he played against Liverpool, he played against Man City. Does he have a case to start for you?
I mean, he does. He does. You know why? If he does start, Werner and Ziyech is gonna have a terrible game, but Werner is gonna get an assist and Ziyech is gonna get a goal. I can just see that happen because it's happened twice before. They're gonna be terrible during the actual game, but they're gonna get that goal and assist. So, and I mean, Hakim Ziyech's Europe is different, even though it hasn't been mind blowing for us in Europe. I mean, it can happen, it really can. But I think that based on what Pulisic was on the press conference today, I just have a feeling that Pulisic is gonna start. I don't know why. I just really believe so. And when he played Real Madrid a couple of years before at Dortmund, he had a really, really good game as well. So maybe I don't know. Maybe he has some kind of confidence from that game as well, even though it was a long time ago. But that was a better Real Madrid team at a full Bernabeu stadium. So I just think it's gonna be Pulisic tomorrow. Pulisic and Werner. Even though if Ziyech starts, he's gonna have a terrible game, but he might get a goal and then probably make up for it like in the games before. But as I said, I'll be going on. I'll be just waffling for a couple of minutes. But as I said, it's gonna be I think it's gonna be Pulisic and Werner next to Mason Mount.
That's fair enough. Ian, what about you? What's your front three? We all presume Mason Mount starts. Who's the other two?
Well, I was going to say it was going to be Kai Havertz and Timo Werner. I am going to change my opinion now because you threw in Hakim Ziyech. I'm going to play Mason Mount as a false nine and have him dropping back and doing a helping out bit defensively. And I like what you're saying about having two people that can constantly go. Now, if I remember correctly, many moons ago, when Ajax played against Real Madrid at the Bernabeu and had a massive performance and absolutely outplayed them.
They honestly tore them to beat. I don't think I've ever, maybe one or two Barcelona performances, but other than that, I don't think I've ever seen a team take Madrid apart like that at the Bernabeu.
I would probably back Ziyech to be able to do something similar again. I'm not saying he's going to have the exact same impact. That'd be nigh impossible. But to say if you have Mason Mount playing as a false nine, winning the ball back, feeding it to Hakim Ziyech, and then Hakim Ziyech finding Werner, who's on the run, who's maybe exploiting space that is being left by, take your pick in terms of whoever you want to take is going forward. More likely he'll be on the left-hand side, so that would mean Carvajal going forward. Exploiting that space, Ziyech making his way into the box, Mason Mount, Lampard-like, late arriver into the box, could put Chelsea 1-0 up. I'll take it, and I generally think there's a good game plan. It's not like a dream scenario. I generally think that could happen, and if it happens once, brilliant. If it happens twice, you're in dreamland. That is the absolutely perfect scenario. I think Mason Mount is going to be crucial. If Hakim Ziyech doesn't work, fine, but Hakim Ziyech, I doubt is going to be able to. What I've seen of him recently, this sounds really bad, but it was against the Burnley game way back in October. He was brilliant and he made this like little yard of pace for himself and he banged it. But more recently, if he's playing against a low block, he's kind of struggling to break it down in the same way. So I think maybe if you start him and Madrid turn into this low blocking team if they take the lead and we still need to go and get a goal, I don't think he's the right player to bring on. So I don't think he's going to bend one top corner against Thibaut Courtois, against playing with a low block. I don't think it's going to happen. So I would probably be a little bit more inclined to probably actually say start him. And if it all goes tits up, bring him off. So I will say Mason Mount as a false 9. I'll say Hakim Ziyech playing on the right wing, and then Timo Werner playing as a left winger.
I think that's a fair shout. I'll give my opinion at the very end. I'll go to Lewis now, but quickly before that, ladies and gentlemen, we still have more than 300 people watching, so get subscribed if you haven't already. We're on the road to 10,000 subscribers, only about, less than 600 away. So if all of you are new here, which I doubt, but, in theory, we could get very, very close. So make sure you subscribe right now. It would mean the world to me. We want to hit it as soon as possible and smash that like button. But Lewis, alongside Mason Mount, who I presume you would pick for the front three as well, who would be your other two in the front three?
Yeah, so Mason Mount goes in already. So,
you can pick someone else if you want to, but
You're wrong.
I feel like I'd go Havertz in the middle. And do I go Hudson-Odoi or Werner?
Wow.
I feel like, no, you know what? I'd put Mount on the left and I'd put Hudson-Odoi on the right. Yeah, I feel like that would be our best front three.
No Pulisic.
Pulisic, you know what I'm always going to say about playing Pulisic 2 games in a week. Like, I'm always going to have reservations about it, at least for this season. I think we need someone like Hudson-Odoi who's similar, though, who can beat players with ease. I would want to go for Timo Werner just to build the confidence, but I feel like Mason Mount starts this game and I don't know. I feel like I could just do a lot more with Hudson-Odoi on the pitch, to be honest. I want someone who's good on the ball, as opposed to a Timo Werner who would be better with space, but I expect Real Madrid to sit a bit deeper. So I'm not too sure. That's why I'd probably go for Hudson-Odoi.
I think you'll make a fair case. For me, it's a situation of this is the type of game where I need the mentality monsters on the pitch. Because if we're going to be totally honest with ourselves, technically, Real Madrid are a better team than we are.
Yeah,
they are. So you need to put something on that pitch that outdoes them in another area of the pitch, and especially with them not having Ramos, that makes it that a tad easier. Have those mentality monsters on the pitch, meaning Mount is guaranteed to start. And for me, there is then 2 options, even though they're not all mentality monsters, but there's 2 options of how we should approach it. Either you can mount Havertz, Pulisic, or you can mount Ziyech, Werner. I think there's those 2 options. There's those 2 approaches to the game. But I will also say, actually, I think Pulisic could do the job that Ziyech always does with Werner, of arriving in the box and that, for the Werner pass. I think Pulisic could actually do that better than Ziyech, but just hasn't so far. And they've always stood in each other's way. Like Clutch has said in the comment section a couple of times, that Werner and Pulisic always end up occupying the same space. And that's a real annoying thing. Or you have Pulisic against West Ham, which just has an absolute shocker and looks like he's in bottle to run. But especially with what Lewis said, scared about playing Pulisic twice, has Pulisic making sure he's fit for Madrid written all over it for me. Because Pulisic is American. American people, they love their playoffs. They love their big games. What's been Pulisic's best performances aside from Burnley, obviously when he scored his hat-trick? Man City, all the big games. All the big games is when Pulisic has turned up. That's when he's always turned up the extra level. I think that's got American written all over it. Today in the press conference, he was like, I've been looking forward to this game for weeks. He's played Real Madrid already at a full Bernabeu, which not many of our players have. So I think for that logic, you probably should start Pulisic. But I would agree with Ian. Start Hakim, see how that works. And then if it doesn't work, you bring Pulisic on and add some extra pace, which Ziyech doesn't have. Because I don't think because I think Pulisic is like that. I think Mount is like that. I think even Werner is like that. The bigger the occasion, the more they kind of want to make sure they step up to it. And Ziyech as well. But I don't think Kai is quite that. Kai just relies on his natural ability rather than pushing himself to be even better than his natural ability / form allows him. For me, Kai Havertz takes a little bit of time to get to hit his peak once he's in bad form. I think a player like Pulisic, a player like Mount, a player like Werner, they can't just from one day to another, when it's a big game, they can't just push themselves up for it to really turn up. Obviously, for Werner, confidence for the chances, we know that. But in terms of outside of this, because I think for Werner, this was a big game against West Ham. And I don't fully agree with Hajir saying Werner was only good for 5 minutes. I think Werner was really good.
I'm kidding.
No, I know. But
Yeah.
I get what you're saying, but for me, for the first half an hour, he was the best player on the pitch by a mile. And it really pissed me off why Pulisic didn't help him more. Then he had a shocker over 10 minutes where he gave away the ball, gave away the foul that nearly led to the handball penalty. And he had a shocker for 10 minutes. Then he scored. And then he missed the sit and was dreadful after that because his confidence was shot again, it seems. But he still tried to score all of a sudden. Remember West Brom? We was 4-1 down. He had an open shot on target and he squared it to Mason. He didn't have the balls to shoot. Against West Ham, I don't know what happened between since then and West Ham. Against West Ham, the man was trying to shoot from everywhere and out of nowhere had confidence, I can score again. And didn't shit himself again. And that's the kind of Timo Werner, even if his finishing isn't great, that's the kind of Timo Werner workhorse mentality monster that I like to have on my team. If it's a tough opponent like Real Madrid, and I don't really want a Kai Havertz in that team unless he's on super high form, and I don't think he is right now. Hence why I would actually go Mount, Ziyech, Werner, and then if Ziyech doesn't work, bring Pulisic on ASAP. And I'm begging you, Thomas Tuchel, begging you, we have 5 subs. Don't wait until the 75th minute again. Make a sub after an hour. Make a sub after 55 minutes. Please, for God's sake. We do not need to wait this long. I do not care. We have 5 subs. Use them. Please. Because even against Porto the other week, we only did like 2 subs, didn't we? It was fuming. Man's complaining all the time in the Prem. I only have 3 subs. Then he has 5 and only does 2. I was off my head. I was livid. I was absolutely livid. Now, just quickly to round it out before we get to score predictions. I've said that. Does anyone think I have a fair point with that logic of mentality monsters? Ziyech is known to step up on a big occasion, as is Pulisic, hence why I want to bring Pulisic on for him, not too late in the game. But as is Mount and as are Werner. Does anyone think that is a fair shout if it differs from what you kind of wanted?
Brilliant, if you ask me.
Yeah, Laurenz, to be fair, like talking about mentality monsters, let me finish. I'm not saying we should play this. Let me just finish this.
Tammy Abraham.
Tammy in the lineup.
Calm down now. Up front, 3 of Mason Mount, Tammy Abraham, and Callum Hudson-Odoi tomorrow. I think they would be gas. Imagine having you like the boys in that stage. I think they would be up for it. I think they would, especially with them 3 playing together at the top. It's not going to happen, but I think they would perform really, really well. All of them 3, because I think they would be good. They would be gas. Imagine like having your boys in the Champions League Semi Final against Real Madrid. I think they would be gas, and I think the chemistry would be unreal. And I think that they will all play well. But it's not going to happen, is it? But I would love to see that. I can't lie.
Bro,
if that happens,
I think if Tammy got a start tomorrow, if he got that start, I think he would play really well. Well, not play really well, but I think he'd get a goal because that's what Tammy does. I think he would. He won't start, and we all know that he won't. But I think if he would be given that chance, he'd be much more likely to take it than Havertz or even Werner. I think that's the type of Tammy thing to do. Even if he wouldn't play well, a bit like Hajir explained with Ziyech and Werner earlier. They wouldn't have a good game, but somehow get a goal, and that's what Tammy would be as well for me. Lewis, obviously you had a fairly different, front 3. You went with Kai, Callum, and Mount, right?
Yes.
Do you think Ziyech has a shout? Obviously, we touched on it a minute ago earlier. He scored some big goals. He has played at this level. He has taken Real Madrid apart at their place. Obviously, it wasn't a training ground stadium, but still. Do you think Ziyech has a shout?
I kind of get what you're on in the fact that he turns up a lot more and is a bit more mentally there for the big games as opposed to smaller games where he just looks like he isn't really that interested. But he's had good games against the small side, especially in the Lampard era when you're looking at the Sheffield United game and was the Leeds United match. I forgot what other game that was there next to it in the
Newcastle game.
No, Burnley, that was it.
Burnley,
yeah, Newcastle as well. I think that was there too. But there was a small string of games where he performed well too. And for me, it's just his performances ain't really that consistent either. Like, I don't. This is the thing. Hakim Ziyech at his best would be a great option for us, but I could just see him have a game like the Brighton match, and it just looks like an absolutely terrible decision. And I need consistency, and I know what I can get with Hudson-Odoi. With, I think, Werner, I know what I can get, and I know what I can't get with him. With me, I was trying to see if I can find some aerial threat in there, but Olivier Giroud can't make a Tuchel side because his work off the ball just isn't up
also,
there.
he wouldn't win the area battle against Courtois anyway, even if it's Giroud, so it's pointless.
Well, then nobody's going to win that. That's
my point. It's exactly my point.
You might as well go for pace.
Yeah.
I'd rather go for Hudson-Odoi and Mount. I still would. Because I think Hudson-Odoi is going to be more all-round dangerous. I think Ziyech is just going to be a bit too one-dimensional in this sort of game. Like the Ajax game was the Ajax game, but that was a team victory. That wasn't a Hakim Ziyech masterclass, and like the rest of them were just a bit mid. Like Tadic balled out that game. Neres had an amazing performance. Frankie de Jong was in the side. De Ligt as well. He had the Shana free kick. I hope I pronounced his name right, but it was a team performance over both
Pretty
legs.
good to be fair, the pronunciation. Fair play.
Oh, was it near enough? I'll take that.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
But yeah, that was a team performance, and like I don't think we've seen the Ziyech from that season here, not yet, and not consistently enough for me. So, if he plays and he has a good performance, that adds up to the big game idea that you're saying. Right now, I just haven't got the consistency there to fully stand by it.
The only difference is you can take him off rather than hoping that he comes on and does something.
That's my point. Yeah, I agree with that.
Fair enough, which means you know what, I wouldn't be as against it if it happens, but you'd rather have your best 11 in there, and I'm not sure he fits in there right now.
Yeah,
I mean, that is true, but I don't think Callum Hudson-Odoi has played enough recently for us to know whether he's best 11. And I will say this about Callum. Other than that second leg in Munich, when he obviously scored that goal, which was in the end then ruled out for offside, someone please tell me one big game where Callum Hudson-Odoi really turned up. Because Callum is good, and Callum needs more game time and should be playing more than he is. But Callum's not so far been the guy to really turn up for the biggest games.
Like I say, with that in mind, we also have to look at what big games he's even played. But you can only really take it down to this season. We brought him on against Manchester City. He was our best attacker. Atletico Madrid, he was amazing on the right-hand side.
Those are from losing
good
positions.
against Spurs.
There's no pressure then.
Now, Laurenz, I'm not having it. Do you know why? Yeah, because this is the thing, especially for youngsters. If you don't get consistent game time, game after game after game, it's hard to find form. And he has not good.
I agree.
That's
why I'm not sure tomorrow is the game to play it.
No, I mean, if it is with Tammy and Mason, yeah, I'm all in for it. I think we'll be unreal if
it's not Hudson-Odoi for me, it's Christian Pulisic. But with Pulisic, I've got my reservations over his availability. Same thing with the Thiago Silva debate, which is why I'm saying I would rather go for Hudson-Odoi because he's similar enough. And that's what I'd want to see in the other forward, because we know what Mason Mount's going to be doing. He's going to be doing the little side turns and beating players and pressing players off the ball, but he's not going to be as instantly attack minded because he's going to be the one pressing the players. He's going to be the one receiving the ball, then turning and trying to find the next player. I want Hudson-Odoi as that other player. You could have Timo Werner as that player. He's got good off the ball movement, decent enough link play. But I think we're going to be dealing with a low block against Madrid. So I think Werner's going to be limited anyway. So I wouldn't really have him in this sort of match. Ziyech, I've already had my reservations over his consistency. Giroud isn't old enough. Tammy hasn't been good enough this season. So I'd go for Hudson-Odoi.
Yeah. I mean, I think you make fair case. I think the difficult part of it is, does consistency matter, or is it more, are you a guy that turns up in big games? I think in terms of the Champions League Semi Final against Real Madrid, that's the more important factor than how consistently well have you played. Ian, do you have any final thoughts before we get into our score predictions?
No, I don't think really. I still think we've got to try and play this game on the counter attack. I don't want to see us try and walk the ball in. That's what I don't want to see us do. And it's something that we've relied on doing too much. I think we need to start fast. We need to start quickly. And part of that is by going ahead. And personally, who I think would put us, gives us one of the better chances of going ahead in terms of the front three would be Timo Werner, whether it be he gets an assist or somehow gets in a goal scoring position himself. But yeah, I think Mason Mount has to play, of course, in the front three. If you want to play Havertz or Ziyech or Pulisic, I understand it, but for me, Werner has to play. It has to be those two in the front three.
I think that's fair. Hajir, anything else you wanna add on?
No, I think I'm good. I'm good.
That is fair enough. I mean, I think Ian makes a point, and now I want to get to score predictions, and it's a tough one to call, really, because I think we're going to win. I know people might think we're crazy. I'm crazy with that, but I think we're going to win because Madrid don't tend to score a lot of goals. They have every now and again, they have a game, and I think we are good enough defensively to stop Real Madrid from scoring. I know the midfield three is great. I get that. But the midfield three, other than Casemiro, of the off chance of a long distance strike or a set piece header, their midfield three isn't going to score them goals. And essentially, we just need to not concede. Whether we lose in the end, the midfield battle a bit, even though I don't think we should give it up from the get-go, doesn't really matter, right? Don't concede, and I think we'll score 1. But I wouldn't be surprised if we score 2 either. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes very similar to the first leg against Porto. Where we get a goal, and then later on, something happens and we get another goal. So I will say 1-0 as a score prediction, 1-0 win to Chelsea. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's 2-0 or 2-1, if that makes sense. Let me go with you first, Lewis. Well, what is your score prediction for tomorrow?
Let me go 1-0 Chelsea as well. I don't expect it to be... If it goes Chelsea's way, I don't expect it to be a lot of goals. If it goes Madrid's way, it is what it is. If Eden Hazard starts, it is what it is. But, it's going to be a tough 2 legs. I'm worried for the second leg because I'm really expecting an Eden Hazard masterclass against us in either leg. I don't want to speak into existence. I'm very afraid it happens. But you never know. Could end up in the AC penitentiary. Hopefully. We'll have to wait and see.
Oh, God, that would be criminal. Oh, that would be heartbreaking.
I think it would.
can't lie.
Because even next week, Hazard is not going to be at full fitness, mind you. Hazard isn't going to be at full fitness for months. Like, they're saying he might be better for him to have surgery for his overall health. But they're also saying if he does have this surgery, he might have to retire. So, like, Hazard, even if he has another week, he's not at full fitness next week. There's no chance. Even if he starts, he's not. So, we'll see about that. But did you give me a score prediction then, or not?
Yeah, 1-0.
Fair enough. Ian, what about you? What's your score prediction?
1-1.
Fair dues. Do you want to expand or just leave it at that?
1-1.
There you go. Hajir, you're the last one. What's your score prediction?
I have to say it. Tammy scores the goal, 1-0 Chelsea. It has to be said. I need to say it.
Tammy in the 96th minute. Absolute scenes.
Can I say 1-1? Scores are 1.
I don't care how he scores or when he scores, even if he risks with handball and VAR gives us the goal. I'm gonna be said like, just wait, just wait for tomorrow. You will see.
Hey,
I want to see this video.
I don't want to see it. Like, please censor it. But if Tammy scores,
I want to bloody see it because Sweden is freezing later at night, and I know what time that's going to be. Games finishing for you. If we beat it, I want to see this video of you running right through the middle of Sweden.
Oh yeah. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
I don't know if you live in Stockholm, but if you don't, you travel to Stockholm and run all the way through Stockholm Central if Tammy scores a goal tomorrow. And I do actually want to bring this point up. Hajir mentioned it at the very beginning and now kind of hinted on it. Just, you can make the answer as long as you feel like it's justified. Do you think we will have a slight refereeing advantage tomorrow, yes or no? Lewis?
No.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or if not now, the second leg.
Yeah.
Now I'm expecting some jamminess our way and some jamminess PSG's way in the final.
Who is the referee? Do we know? Or where is he from?
The final will probably be Anthony Taylor.
Is he ball?
No, if we're in it, we can't be.
He's not actually allowed to referee if there's an English team in the final. But
he's not allowed to referee any of the games. He's done
why ain't he allowed to referee full stop? Like, that's a crime in itself.
Yeah, that is true.
I mean, obviously, with VAR and things, UEFA won't make it crazy obvious. But if there's 50-50s for Real getting a penalty, I think they might not. And if there's 50-50s for us getting a penalty, I think we might. And I wouldn't be surprised if, some of the dodgy VAR offside decisions. I think, like, for example, in this scenario, Werner's goal against Liverpool stands. Do you know what I mean? Something like that. Yeah. But I wouldn't be surprised if we get that kind of very, very tads of a like an advantage, if that makes sense. It's a tough one. I wouldn't be surprised if we win 1-0 and Jorginho scores a penalty. Wouldn't be surprised at all. But somehow we save ourselves that penalty. Sorry, Hajir, go on.
Is the ref bald? Is he bald, or do we know that?
I don't know. You know what? Yeah. Lewis, do you want to expand why you really think we do have a slight advantage, and I'll find out who's the referee tomorrow?
Oh, just because Real Madrid are the main club involved in the European Super League. Fiorentino Perez, the chairman of the Super League, And Real Madrid ain't getting let back into UEFA until Perez is gone. And same thing with Barcelona and whoever their president is. So they won't want Perez dancing around with their trophy at the end of the season. They hate his guts right now. He nearly sold them all out and took their big money pack away from them. So they hate him. So I expect him to get done. Craigo, you're going to say something. Go for it.
I've just seen Melinda trying to have a dig at me for no reason. Oh, bitch.
Hey,
the referee is from the Netherlands.
he is, yeah.
Yeah, and he's not bald.
Danny
Well,
Makeli. Don't know how it's pronounced.
Well, second leg, I'll figure out who that one is. Whoever it is, they'll screw Real Madrid over. So at least we can have that.
We'll see. We'll see.
Kuiper's like the best referee in Holland anyway. And he's the video assistant referee. He's not even the proper one. He's the second in command one.
He's the one that makes sure we get the UEFA decisions.
He's the backhander. Nice.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, not offside. Penalty. He's that one. But ladies and gentlemen, we've been having a lovely stream, a very long stream, because at times we're 5 people today, which obviously makes each topic take a little bit longer to get through. But with all of that said, we still have nearly 300 people watching. Massively appreciate that. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. We're on the road to 10,000 subscribers. Smash that like button. Let me see how many likes we're on. Definitely not enough. But to be fair, we're not doing badly. It's 150. Now, 185. I do apologize. Let's get to 200 likes right now, ladies and gentlemen. Smash the like, just 15 more. Go down below and hit that like button. If you want to become a member, there's a join button underneath if you're on desktop, or a link in the description on your phone. Use the super chat function, of course, if you want to help the channel out just before we leave it here. But at the end of the day, I can only thank all of you guys for coming on. I want to shout out to all of you guys, of course. Craigo28 Football, check out his channel down in the description. The same goes for the Chelsea Social, which of course Hajir is a part of. And of course, check out Hajir on Twitter as well. And Lewis, you guys know him, but at Carefree Lewis G, his link is also down in the description. Subscribe to him if you haven't already. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming. Thank you for watching. Huge game ahead tomorrow. Huge game. I'm both nervous, but I'm also excited. I'm petrified, but I'm also gassed. It's all, like Hajir said at the very beginning, all of the feelings all at once. That's what I'm feeling at the moment. But hey, up the Chelsea, upwards and onwards. Let's do it tomorrow. And I'll see you next time.